have started singing the Psalms with my son as I'm putting him to bed. He's 2 years old.
Yeah.
And so with his little 2-year-old voice, he'll sing along with me. And one of the things that's been so striking to me has been how different those songs are from contemporary songs that might be fine, but when we're singing like Psalm 146 and my son is singing, "Put no confidence in princes, nor for help on man depend.
Right.
He shall die, to dust returning, and his purposes shall end." I'm like, you're singing way better than you know, you little 2-year-old. And it's also super cute. It's super cute.
I think it's more, it is super cute, but it's more than cute, because Psalm 8, the Lord stills the enemy and the avenger with the voices of children. You get children singing the Psalms, and somehow that's a response to the evil in the world. But I think that I often use the example of David. He goes out and he fights against Goliath. You think, what a heroic act! All he has is a stone and a sling. But prior to that, he's contending with an evil spirit. And when he's contending with the evil spirit, you can't use a sling and a stone with an evil spirit. So he sings the evil spirit away from Saul. When you're facing demonic forces that you can't hit with stones, you bring out the heavy artillery is the lyre in the song. That's how you fight against demons.
Well, we're going to sing more often in my family's home after that. Yeah. That's really beautiful. That's powerful. Psalm 8 is my daughter's favorite psalm to sing. Yeah. And I think because there's the refrain of "Lord, our Lord, in all the earth, how great thy name," which is awesome. So psalm singing is one way for Christians and for churches to live in this apocalyptic world. Right. What are some other ways or practices that Christians should engage in to live in this world?
Yeah. I think we really do need to recognize that we're not going to be able to coast along as Christians, carried by the cultural tides or currents, as has been the case for a lot of American history. We should be very grateful for the impact of Christianity on America's life, and for most of our history, there was a generally Christian ethos, and Christians didn't have to stand against the cultural currents, because the cultural currents were very much in our favor. That's not the case anymore, and I think it's not that we're moving in a direction where it's not the case. It's not the case right now that all of our cultural institutions are against us. There isn't a major cultural institution in the U.S. that isn't at least opposed to Christianity, if not actively hostile. You look at the development of the legal apparatus. Maybe we'll get some relief on abortion. Have a case coming up in the next 6 months or so. But gay marriage is established, and it's not going away. Nobody's fighting it. No political leaders are fighting it. The traditionalists in the Republican Party have just completely collapsed in the face of that. And we have depending on the administration, I think we have a more or less aggressive promotion of transgender ideology. So the government is against us. We have universities that are opposed to us. The media is opposed to us. Social media is opposed to us. There's no major institution in the United States that's against us, that is in favor of Christianity. So we have to recognize that we're standing against the world. We always have been, but now it's more obvious. We're standing against the world, and that means that we have to be ready to say and do things that are going to be against the tide. And that means we're going to have to suffer. And American Christians are just not used to that, not used to the awkwardness of having to stand firm against something where the vast majority of people, and certainly maybe not the vast majority of people, but certainly in the institutions, are going to be against us. So we need to be prepared for suffering. We need to be prepared for martyrdom in its original sense, which is to say it's for witness, faithful witness in the face of opposition. The Greek word that's behind martyr is just the word for witness in the New Testament. Martyrs are witnesses who witness even to death. And I don't have any sense of exactly how extreme things get. My guess is that Americans are not going to face lions and burning at the stake, but various other kinds of exclusion and being ostracized and marginalized, and people lose jobs, people don't advance because of their witness and so forth. That's a genuine kind of martyrdom. Christians need to be prepared for that and be prepared to stand firm. I think we need to be prepared for bearing witness before authorities. This is one of the things that Jesus talks about when he warns his disciples about the coming shakeup within the generation of the apostles. They're going to be dragged before kings and governors. But Jesus says that's an opportunity for witness. And I worked through the book of Acts recently and for a podcast series, and realized as I went, I hadn't studied the book of Acts in quite this detail before, realized as it went through how often the apostles are testifying in courtrooms. I mean, the whole last third of Acts is Paul in courtrooms preaching the gospel. And the first part of Acts, the whole Jerusalem mission is a series of court appearances by Peter and John, and then eventually Stephen, who gets killed before the court actually finishes its investigation. But a lot of the book of Acts, that's the venue for witness. That's not been our traditional thinking about where we witness, but I think we need to be prepared for that kind of thing. And that can be small scale, having to give a defense before some supervisor at work about your position on Pride Month. Are you going to participate in Pride Month activities? And if you say no, somebody's going to want you to explain yourself, and that's an opportunity for witness. Sometimes it's going to be actual before governing authorities, but I think a lot of small scale kinds of pressures are going to come. A lot of the pressures today are not coming from governments; they're coming from other private institutions that have adopted an anti-Christian ideology. So I think that's one of the main things that we need to be prepared for. There needs to be an understanding that suffering for our faith in Jesus and for our trust in His Word and our belief in His commandments, suffering for those convictions is part of the Christian life, and we need to be prepared to witness boldly in whatever setting the Lord sends us.